A new person? Hello, Julian says. He's wearing a glitch t-shirt and a smile. He starts to enter, then looks down and says, "You have to invite me in." "No, I fucking don't, Julian, because that's not how vampires work. Come on in. Make yourself comfortable. There's no reason to be uncivil. Give me one reason why I shouldn't cut your head off with my nice new sword. I play it cool, but I smell an opportunity here." Julian was always brilliant. "Fine. Enter freely and of your own free will. Now what do you want?" "I'm actually trying to do legitimate work, so if you could leave, I'd appreciate it. I have a chance with the Camarilla here, and Julian is nothing but trouble." "I'm going to try," Julian says, looking around as if the two of you didn't crash in way worse places than this. He glances back at your Nissan, then he tosses you a tiny webcam. "This was in your ceiling, by the way. Give me your phone, and I'll take care of the tracking there." He looks so young, you think, as he wanders in and out of your shitty crash pad, sweeping for bugs. For some reason you expected him to age. You look at yourself in your Nissan side view mirror. You haven't aged either. "Man, it's been a while," Julian says, leaning against your door frame. "I remember the nights we spent keeping that Eldra asleep with offerings of blood, the days curled up together in the desert. Wasn't it romantic?" "That never happened, Julian. You made up our relationship and tried to sell it as a novel until the old Prince of Tucson threatened to execute you." "I'm not saying anything about what happened when we were fledglings. How have you been?" "I was a confused young fledgling, and you were older, and I thought you were more mature. I won't make that mistake again." "Vampire romance was big at the time," Julian says with a shrug. "And I changed our names. I still don't know why no one wanted to buy it. But I wasn't just writing vampire erotica for money. I had a plan. Which brings me to your clan. And the things they get up to in their research. I've been working with Jasper Knowles lately. Terrible what happened to Jasper. Of course, it's also terrible what he did to that Surat. And that Outlander. And that ... anyway. What's worse is that lately I've been working with Jasper, not K-Night to K-Night, but man to man, as it were. That's a problem for my daytime persona. The truth, Celeste, is that I actually maintained the company we ... Oh shit, you already know, don't you? You remember seeing 2100X on those records on Prince Leto's table. But you don't say anything, you just shrug. Julian smiles and says, "Sometimes you really do impress me. I suppose you also know that I sold the silver knife he was using to Covenant Pawn Shop." Again, you refuse to respond, and again Julian smiles. "You're too clever," he says. "The Camarilla would kill you for being that smart." "There are worse things in life and death than a little danger, Celeste," Julian says. "Let me explain. Since the Convention of Thorns, the Masquerade has protected us from mortal scrutiny. We hide what we are. We live in the shadows. But that can't last." He tosses the USB webcam up and down. "The Second Inquisition should have taught us that. One day soon, humans will learn the truth. This is inevitable. Do you know why Jasper Knowles decided to end his experiments with that Nosferatu? Because someone filmed it when it got out. Then he called me to turn the video from a Masquerade breach into a trailer to a new student horror film. I had to fake some date stamps, but the Tremere paid me well. That's going to happen more and more, Celeste." And eventually it's going to be happening every night. All the time. Always on. Constant streaming. We must stop offering a hard wall against this inevitability and start creating a guided path for the mortals. You're talking about a whole new way that humans will be forced to view the world. That's ambitious, Julian. And fascinating. I'm familiar with this kind of speculation. There's another option, a curtailed world of walled gardens and limited information. That's the route I believe the kindred must take. Maybe you're right, but that's all years from now. This year, this night, all I want is enough to survive. I'm not turning humans into pets of the kindred so we can eke out another 100 years of unlife. Then I'll help you survive, Julian says. That's why I'm here. Tomorrow, now that you have this beautiful machine, Julian says, banging the hood of your Nissan, Prince Leto will give you one of 3 uses. Would you like to know what's on them? He doesn't let you answer. 1 wants the Brujapa to muster about renovations to his hospital that will expose his followers. 1 informs the Tremere in video call that her mentor Jasper Knowles is dead and that her funding is cut off because her facility's contacts with mundane biomedical research firms threatens the Masquerade. 1 tells the Ventruilan Olive Crona that the Second Inquisition is coming for her little prison buffet down at the border. Wherever you go, the people there will use you or destroy you to escape what's coming. And it's all happening because of Jasper's experiments. I already know that. And you only know it because you were listening in on the prince. I ought to tell Leto and gut a deal with the Camarilla. Why are you telling me this? I absolutely don't trust Julian, but once he starts talking it's not like there's any way to stop him. So what do you want me to do? I'm willing to hear Julian out, at least. The Second Inquisition? You're sure they're active again? If they are, I need to watch myself lest I be destroyed. So you can survive, so you can help me in the first phase of my work, and so you can stop the Second Inquisition. That's all. I won't even ask you to work against Prince Leto or the Camarilla. Just watch for the sea. But first, let me demonstrate how disposable you are to the prince. Now think back to what I taught you. Where is the best place to begin, Celeste? The walls? Leto's thralls? His pet bird, Riga? Another damn test. Julian used to love these. But though you sometimes appreciate the Camarilla and its traditions, Julian always had a knack for spotting spies. He watches you as you look around your little garage, trying to ignore your lingering hunger. Let's do some technical analysis on that webcam. I flip open my phone and start scrutinizing the camera. And plus technology, I use my supernatural acuity and my phone to examine that camera. Auspex, I wonder if Prince Leto's eagle is watching me. I head outside and employ my keen sense. Instead of waiting inside, Julian sweeps your Nissan for bugs. Once he's done, he doesn't say anything even as sunrise approaches and you continue to work. You unscrew the webcam and check the serial numbers of its individual parts. Using your phone, you trace some of those serial numbers to domestic suppliers, then to defense contractors. You recognize some of these names from your time with Julian. These are sea suppliers, you whisper. Exactly, Julian says. So either the sea installed that webcam, or Prince Leto's people installed it, unaware of its provenance. Which is worse? Or Julian is lying from top to bottom in order to manipulate you. He takes out his phone, checks the time, frowns a little. You're going to need better security than this if you stay here, he says. What are you going to rig up? Cameras? Poison gas, like we used in Fort Worth? Old-timey runes of warding painted in blood? Despite the late hour, it takes a while to get Julian off the subject of security. Finally he drops his voice and says, you need to be ready for the sea. Celeste. He glances up at you, his pale face illuminated by his phone, and says, "They're not as smart as they think they are. But they're still pretty smart. They're piecing things together. Anyway, I've been thinking about Ayla." "Shut the fuck up. What if someone is still listening? We'd both be killed for what happened. I will seriously beat the shit out of Julian if he keeps talking. I regret what I did to that elder every night. And I've never forgiven Julian for leading me down that twisted path and away from the traditions of the Kindred. Why bring up our crimes now? The black stains on my soul are what kept me from real power in the Camarilla. I don't regret destroying Ayla and taking her power, only how useless it turned out to be. Let's not speak of those we've lost. I still remember the incredible, perverse sense of power when I drank Ayla's ancient blood, though I won't give Julian the pleasure of admitting it. There is truth. That withered old mummy got the last laugh, didn't she? Julian says. I'm just glad you're not full of regret. Her blood gave you strength, Celeste, strength you needed to survive. To survive in exile, because anyone could have seen the stains on my soul, you say. But they've faded, Julian says. And the power you took did not. It's true. You can still feel Ayla's stolen power. And sometimes, especially when the hunger is upon you, you can still hear her thoughts, screaming through your withered veins. It's almost sunrise, Julian says, checking his phone again. I'm late for prayer. He slips a business card out of his glitch hoodie and says, with my usurper contact dead, my old Denver company, 2100X, is ... on hiatus. But I'm still thinking about the future. The 22nd century. Think about that, Celeste. It's a sort of blank spot in our imagination. I mean, human imagination, too. We talked about the 21st century as kids. We can still, in a way, imagine the far future. But what's coming? What's it going to be like 80 or 100 years from now? Because I plan to be there. And I want your help. You're getting the impression that the Camarilla wants you. Maybe Prince Leto just wants you as a patsy in case the Second Inquisition hits him like the fist of God, but he hasn't mistreated you yet. And you know that kindred of the Camarilla do not serve two masters. You can tell me the details tomorrow. Now you should go before you burn. I'm not 100% in, but I'm interested and I want to hear more. I lie, trying to ignore the distraction of my hunger and pretending to be interested while making it clear to anyone still listening, like Leto, that I'm not. Comicom plus subterfuge, I'll call you. I commit the card to memory, but I'm hedging, not committing one way or another. What scheme of yours has turned out well, Julian? Please, just go. Fuck your hard sell, Julian. I'm not saying no, but I get right up in his face to make it clear I won't be yanked around, not again. Never again. Char plus intimidation, maybe it would be better to discuss plans in my haven? I can't believe I'm inviting Julian to spend the day, but he's charming in his own strange way. You can't just, Julian says, momentarily losing his equilibrium. But then he leans back, squeezing the bridge of his nose. Of course you can, he says. I'm sorry. Dawn is near, and you know how I get. Will you be okay here, Celeste? You shrug. If you're not, call me, he says, nodding to the card he gave you. Text me before you leave tomorrow night. He hands you a card with information about how to reach him, the motel where he's staying, and the location of a Dropbox. There's a little glyph like a knife doodled on the card. A karambit, he says. I'm not exactly a regular member of Clan Banu Hakim, so that's what I'm using instead of the old 2100 logo to mark my holdings. No name yet, just the mark. Look for it, Celeste. Then he opens the door to your little office room, scans the shadows, and disappears down the garage, in no evident hurry despite the proximity of sunrise. The metal door swings shut. You let the shock of Julian Sim's return fade, then check your knockoff panerai as you take it off. It's 6:20 a.m. You secure the door, drop the deadbolt, and strip out of your leather jacket. You don't even have time for a shower, so you just unroll the sleeping bag and make sure your phone is charging. You dream of flying high over the Alps at night, the roar of a single-seater engine in your ears, a silk scarf wrapped around your throat to keep off the cold, though you are already colder than anything else in these skies. Your dream shifts to a huge moon over a city you know so well that no name comes to mind, all turquoise domes and tall towers, black against the midnight sky. And then the same city, except it is only a village, low mud huts, donkeys, children laughing. It's morning, and the sun feels hot against your back and your bare limbs. Not dreams. Memories. And one last memory, forcing your eyes open, like lifting an iron gate, and looking up at two eager fledglings, one from your own clan, one clan Tremere, and watching, frozen, as the Tremere's fangs slide out. You open your eyes for real and check your phone. It is 5:49 p.m. Sunset. Ayla is asleep again. You shower, scraping the last of the filth out from under your fingernails. Then you decide where you're going. You don't want to keep Prince Leto waiting as you make a decision. Your first stop will be Paternoster Street, Basil's hospital in Phoenix. I can kick those bottom feeder vamps around and make the place my own. Paternoster Street, Basil's. They've been lax, and the Camarilla needs them better behaved before the sea notices something. I've been on autopilot for years. Street, Basil's sounds like a job where I can shake off my lethargy, see what's going on, even make some new contacts. An olive crona at the migrant camp outside Sierra Blanca, Texas. It sounds like an interesting place, sort of a Casablanca for vampires. I like the idea of easy living. An olive crona at the migrant camp. It sounds like a horror show, the sort of thing I might be able to stop, even if she's technically a Camarilla asset. I bet there's a ton of money to be made at Camps Fuller if I can get into the blood trade there. I go there first. My sire, Nvidia, at her research facility on a ranch in Kiowa National Grassland, New Mexico. I bet she's conducting some interesting research. Nvidia at her facility. She sounds like she's getting herself into trouble with the Camarilla. Maybe I can help get her out. I deal with my sire first. She sounds like the most trouble, and I want to get in and out before my own life gets more complicated. Tucson, Arizona. Night of November 6. Sunrise, 6:45 a.m. You drive the Nissan around your parking lot a few times, getting a feel for it as the lights come on all over Tucson. The truck handles like a bucket of KFC sliding across a hockey rink, which is what you expect after paying less than $1,000 for a vehicle this new. The warped interior panels indicate that someone rebuilt this Frontier after a collision that should have totaled it. But the electronics work, and it's nice to have Bluetooth. The Bluetooth doesn't work, but it's nice to know it's there. At least you're high enough off the road to see around all the Chevy Silverados and Ford Raptors. You spot the Viper nightclub, accelerate hard, and scream to a halt outside. It's still early and the party won't start for hours, but Leto is already awake. You see his eagle, Riga, perched nearby. You double-check your maps. A few minutes later, a mortal flunky in an Ed Hardy shirt runs up to your Nissan with a portable push-button lockbox. You peel out. It's a 9-hour drive. And you've researched motels and abandoned buildings starting at Albuquerque in case traffic or trouble leaves you stranded. You doubt you'll end up anywhere nice, though. Fortunately, traffic is light. You drive east on the 10 and pass the spot where you ditched your Honda CRX. Idly curious, you spend 20 minutes exploring the abandoned filling station, but the white is long gone. Julian texts you as you're heading back to your car. She's going to turn you into a newt when she learns the Eagles cut her off. Before you can respond, another text, "Get her on our side." Or try to recruit her scholars, scientists, etc. I need good people, and unlike some usurpers I could name, I don't spit acid at people when I lose my temper. An hour later, he texts, "Learn everything you can about the facility. Collect blood samples if possible. I hear she's captured a witch. I don't believe in witches but check it out anyway." 20 minutes later, a final text, "Obviously your phone is compromised now. Drop it off in the bathroom of the next Shell station. Don't destroy the SIM card. There's a replacement under the sink." A few more minutes up the road, you spot the Shell station. You pull in and do what you're told. The new phone is another disposable burner. Julian, you realize, isn't hiding from the Second Inquisition. He's using what they think they know to move them around the board, in a game you don't fully understand. A few minutes later, you pass a garage marked with Julian's Karambit and make a mental note of its location. The hard copy map on your dashboard insists that you're going from one town to the next, but you don't see anything, just the road and distant lights. From the highway, even Albuquerque is just a blur of low buildings and exit ramps. Past Santa Fe, the landscape grows more lush, with scrubby trees lining the highway and the distant hills dotted with green subtle hues visible to your sensitive eyes. The drive takes you through lots of towns named after bigger towns. The landscape grows rocky and pale cliffs rise beside the road. You stop at the last all-night gas station to fill your Nissan's tank, then head into a wild and unguggled landscape that stretches flat all the way to Street. Louis, for all you know. There's no radio out here, so you try to enjoy the sound of the engine, because you don't want anything on your disposable phones. No trouble, though. No tails. No weird unmarked cars. No circling eagles for now. Researching Nvidia Call has been difficult even with Julian's interest in recruiting her. Despite being her child, you know little of her history. She began her own life assisting one of your clan's most well-regarded warlocks. When the beckoning lured elders to the Middle East and the Second Inquisition destroyed the Tremir's most important chantry in Vienna, she grabbed as many resources as she could and fled into the desert. She has always dreamed of breeding animals with human-quality blood, and that appears to be her latest project. You're not sure if she's been successful, but you know that her facility, Kiowa Xenogenetics, has connections to biomedical firms all over the world. Too many connections. In fact, those connections don't exactly represent a breach of the Masquerade, but the whole situation is too close to daylight for Prince Leto's liking. No wonder he's shutting her down. He'd probably wipe KXG off the map if he could. She isn't going to like that. And vampires tend to shoot the messenger. You pass an old mining village, abandoned since cowboy times, and stop to mark its location on the map. A few buildings might offer you cover from the sun if things go badly. There are no signs, and the fence looks just like all the others, but you know you're close when the road gets better. When you spot a headlight in the distance, you instinctively kill your Nissan's lights and pull over. Two Kawasaki ATVs rumble down a side road. Men with rifles and helmets ride the ATVs. They look like border patrol, but you know they're private security. Good ones, too, if those bolt-action Badrock rifles are anything to go by. Those are guns for people who don't miss. One shot will drop a buffalo, or a vampire. You're just wondering whether to turn your lights back on and introduce yourself, since you have all your paperwork in order, when the guards take off, followed by a low-flying quadcopter drone. Another mile down the road, you spot the sheep. They look like regular sheep, except they wear tracking collars and they have 4-digit numbers painted on one flank. These must be NVIDIA's xenogenetic specimens. You remember Julian's text? He'd like a sample. He's impressed with you so far, but this might really secure his respect and a position in whatever the hell he's doing. You're not sure you want to sink your fangs into one of the xenosheep, but there are other animals about. Now might be a good time to hunt. I'll extract some sheep blood for Julian. I'll extract some blood, but keep it for myself. I just want to get to NVIDIA's facility. I just want to feed. I look for regular animals, not thaumaturgic experiments. Just as you hop out of the car and stretch your legs, the xenogenetic sheep hurry away into the underbrush. You check the eastern sky. You made good time, and you still have a few hours before dawn, but there's a lot of territory out here. You need a plan. You check your sword, because while you have a blood and tissue kit, you'll also need a sharp blade to bag something worth drinking. I'm trained in wilderness survival. I'll look for tracks and hunt down some prey. Which plus survival, I'll have to be patient. But my keen senses will let me sniff out prey when the wind changes. Reason plus awareness, I stay in my truck and go off-road, taking my time until I see signs of prey. Reason plus drive, first, I drive VTI to my eyes and nostrils, focusing my senses. Auspex, on second thought, I just keep going to Dr. Cool's facility. The world explodes with radiant intensity. The sky lightens as if in a fast-forward sunrise, and the air roars in your ears. 1,000 smells assail your nostrils. I'm trained in wilderness survival. I'll look for tracks and hunt down some prey. Which plus survival, I'll have to be patient. But my keen senses will let me sniff out prey when the wind changes. Reason plus awareness, I stay in my truck and go off-road, taking my time until I see signs of prey. Reason plus drive, on second thought, I just keep going to Dr. Cool's facility. The antelope doesn't see you coming until it's too late. 3 quick strides and you're a top hit. Its legs kick uselessly at the dust, then you sink your fangs into its neck. It relaxes in your embrace. You cradle the animal as you drain it dry. In less than a minute, it's a withered bag of skin and fur. You wipe your lips and return to your truck, as satisfied as a vampire can ever be with animal blood. Dr. Cool's facility consists of several structures. You see a long, low building of green glass and white concrete, trailers for the long-term personnel, and a parking lot. There's also a little outdoor coffee shop with a patio. Behind the main building is a refurbished ranch, a garage for the ATVs, and a landing strip for light aircraft. A high chain-link fence dotted with security cameras surrounds most of the facility. Quadcopter drones drift overhead as you stop at the main gate. The woman guarding the yellow gate takes one look at your laminated introductory letter and immediately buzzes you through. You go on ahead to the intersection, she says, and turn right. There's a trailer waiting for you. Number 23. The trailer is hardly luxurious, except for the thick maroon drapes, which look like they were borrowed from a castle. They completely blot out the sun, though it still feels safer to sleep in the made-up storage space under the table than on the bed. Your sire knows you're here, but you don't have time to worry just yet. The moment the sun crosses the horizon, you're asleep. Your first thought when you rise is that they're not going to let you through security with your weapons. Even your fancy laminated letter won't let you walk around armed. Once you're dressed and cleaned up, you check out security. It isn't as scary as the ATV patrols, it's just one guy with a holstered pistol next to a metal detector. He's watching his laptop in a big atrium with shiny faux marble walls and lots of glass. It's probably busy during the day, but right now it's quiet though not deserted. Outside the main facility is a detached security office and a little cafe. There's a gap between them where the fence doesn't cover, though there are cameras everywhere in that direction. You consider what to do. I'm not going to cause trouble. I move my weapons into my truck. It looks like I have to leave my weapons, but I'm not happy about it. I put everything in my truck for a quick getaway. I'll have to leave my sword in the truck, but I know my way around petty larceny. I'm intelligent enough to smuggle my gun through security. And plus clandestine. It's time for the big gulp trick. You head to the little cafe and get the biggest iced coffee they have. You also ask for a Ziploc bag. The barista chats you up for a few minutes, but you have places to go and you still don't know this place well enough to risk feeding. You seal your pistol in the Ziploc bag, drop it in the big plastic cup, and slurp loudly when you enter the facility to make it seem like you're taking a long pull of the iced coffee. The guard looks up. You press the laminated letter of introduction into his hands while dropping your jacket, knock-off panerai, phone, and the coffee into the bin. Then you pass through the metal detector and immediately set it off. Wincing, you fish around in your pocket and drop your change from the coffee into the bin, then step through again. The guard gives you the full sweep with the wand. You grab the coffee before he picks it up and realizes how heavy it is and pretend to drink as he finishes his sweep. He's suspicious, but that letter of introduction means he won't risk a full search. He shrugs and hands the letter back, then says, "Dr. Call is in the function room. Straight ahead." You step into the bathroom, slide your gun back into its holster, and ditch the bag and coffee. When you leave, you catch the guard taking a picture of you with his phone in the reflection of the polished marble walls. You enter a circular room illuminated by a giant red hologram of a hemoglobin molecule. It's labeled KXG, Xenogenetics. A party is in full swing. 20 scientists and technicians are chatting, drinking wine from fancy glasses or gathered around a baby grand piano where a man in a tweed jacket is playing ragtime. A whiteboard reads "Congratulations Dr. Takahashi on your," and then a complex formula. You spot a few equations you recognize from your academic studies. But whatever Dr. Takahashi discovered, it's beyond your immediate grasp. You must be the courier, a young woman says. My name is Vani Anand. Dr. Cool will be here in a few minutes. Until then, help yourself to some wine. And I apologize beforehand if anyone badgers you. We're trapped in here for months at a time like Antarctic researchers, and anyone new is interesting. Vani isn't really dressed for a party, she's wearing a loose-fitting work shirt full of pens and notebooks, though she's put on gold earrings that sometimes gleam red in the holographic light. Before you can chat, Vani gets a text and excuses herself, leaving you at the edge of the party. You scan the crowd, contemplating how to make a good first impression with these people. Your sire will react badly to the information you're carrying, and you don't want your behavior here to make her mood even worse. I scan the crowd for threats. Any weird sorcery on display? I'm always interested in the weird stuff. Any masquerade violations? I hate to be a knock, but even this far out in the wilderness we can't have sorcery out in the open. The weirdest thing is that hologram. You're not sure how it's being generated. A masquerade violation, or just weird tech? You're not sure. Most of the scientists look well off and well fed. There's an old money smell to a lot of them. From the WASP doctors listening to ragtime on the piano to the comfortable-looking computer scientists, most of them immigrants from India and Pakistan. Everyone seems pleased with themselves and a little bored. Everyone except one red-haired woman who skulks in the shadows. Pale and sullen-looking, she has the one look of a blood doll, but her blue eyes are hard and wild as a trapped wolf's. She wears a long moss green cardigan that she keeps pulling down over her wrists and silver rings with occult symbols. You can only read part of her shirt under the cardigan. Tech, Astrodit. Latin? The Tremere sorcerers. But they normally hide better than this. No wonder Prince Leto wants this place shut down. You consider whom to approach and what you want. Potential allies for you and Julian? To uncover the secrets of this place, perhaps to make some money? Or maybe you should just try to put Dr. Cool in a good mood for your inevitable meeting. This is an upscale and friendly crowd. I persuade them to like me. I want to get in good with them, and by extension, Dr. Cool. Charm plus persuasion, I corner that witch and impress her with my knowledge of the occult. I need powerful allies, and I want to know more about this place. And plus academics, I want information. It should be easy to pretend that I'm a science reporter and ask the scientists questions, though they'll be mad if they realize I'm misrepresenting myself. Man plus subterfuge/technology, I'm going to canvass for information and use my investigative skills to learn what Dr. Cool is up to. It should be easy if I focus purely on facts. Rees plus investigation, someone here is probably a spy for Dr. Cool herself, a ghoul or an apprentice. I look around for body language that might give them away, seeking information and allies. Wit plus awareness. You look for Vani, but she's stepped out. One lurking figure in black catches your eye, until another similarly attired man shows up and they start talking about podcasts. They're in black because that's the uniform of the custodial staff. They're lurking at the fringes of the party, waiting to snag hors d'oeuvre. So your eyes settle on the witch. She scratches at her wrists, her movements crazy as any Malkavian's, and you see the scars on her pale skin. Not fang marks. Not what you'd expect from a suicide attempt or self-harm. More like ... patterns. What do you think you see? She says, striding toward you. When she plants her hands on her hips, you can read her entire t-shirt: reject technocracy, embrace tradition. You examine the scars and say, you've carved runes in your arms. Even in the dim red light of the holograms, you can spot those symbols. You've seen some on Nazis or Nazi-adjacent occultists. Julian used to employ a percent her biker gang to handle deliveries. They were a loyal, competent group, until they realized their boss was a Chinese Malaysian Muslim, and a huge nerd. But, you confess, I don't know what they mean. No? There is no knowledge, leech. There is only the will. Oh shit. It's a mage. Julian told you what to do if you ever came across a real one, so you turn and get ready to run. But then you turn back and look the witch in the eyes. Something has been scooped out. It takes you a moment to recognize that particular kind of emptiness and despair. You've been blood-bound, you say. Drink the blood of the same vampire 3 times, and you belong to that vampire. It doesn't matter if you're a bank teller, a witch, or Cain himself. This woman used to be more, but now she's just one of your sire's servants. Determined to protect her pride, the witch says, I work with Dr. Cool. FF the Dr. Cool. I make the SSN the snow for the S snow room. Then she starts muttering to herself, dark and angry. You take a step back as the scientists watch the witch with disgust and fear. The snow room? Interesting. Ah, there you are, Vani says, appearing at your side and taking you by the shoulder. Vani and the witch lock gazes. Vani isn't the one who backs down. She steers you away from the red-headed woman. Giselle is dangerous, she says. Stay away from her. Why? You ask. Because she used to be something more than the rest of us, Vani says, and now she's something much less. She came here to destroy Dr. Cool, and Nvidia destroyed her instead. To destroy Dr. Cool, not kill her. It sounds like Vani knows who employs her. Hello, Celeste, a cool and professional voice says. Dr. Cool still sounds like she's the voice of a computer assistant. She's dressed for the celebration, in a long red and black dress. It takes your eyes a moment to resolve the serpents and wolves that form the design. She holds out her black gloved hand for you to shake. Or kiss. You decide to shake. She smiles, then takes you by the chin and turns your face back and forth. You should eat more. Your sire pulls you into a shadowy corner and checks your teeth, then takes in your clothes and shakes her head. She has the same flapper bob you remember. Her dark face has thick, expressive eyebrows that bounce around whenever she talks. It was always a strange juxtaposition, Nvidia's animated and friendly face, contrasted with her flat, chillingly hypnotic voice. You smell fresh blood. Not on her lips, on her fingers, under the gloves. Dr. Cool glances around at the party and tells them, I just have a little more work to do, and then I'll be out to socialize. Under her breath, she says, Celeste, follow. Now. You follow the smell of blood. Nvidia takes you through a smoky glass door with a light that turns from red to green at her approach. You follow her down a corridor to a storage room. The door slides open to reveal a man with his guts hanging out and another man in a lab coat trying to hold him down. It looks like the man has been shot in the chest by a high-caliber weapon, like the rifles the ATF patrols carry. Celeste, help Dr. Takahashi hold Miguel down, Dr. Cool says, removing her black velvet gloves to reveal long black nails and opening a silver tray full of scalpels. You don't give Miguel good odds. He's already lost a ton of blood, and unless your sire or Dr. Takahashi is prepared to work some heavy sorcery, he'll be dead in minutes. Might as well make a good first impression. I help Dr. Takahashi hold the dying man down. If it's so important that you save him, give him some vitae. I just deliver the messages and get paid. I wait for Dr. Call to finish her business with the dying man. This man is dying anyway. I drain him of blood. There's no way this guy is coming back from what's happened to him, so you step forward, grab his arm as if you're going to help hold him down, and sink your fangs into his wrist. I thought I raised you better than this, Celeste, Nvidia says. But she doesn't stop you. In less than a minute, the corpse is pale and withered, its lips white and peeled back like someone who's been in the ground for a week already. You're so thoughtless. What if Dr. Takahashi didn't know? I'd have to stick his brain in a microwave on high for a minute to get him to forget. Or kill him. Dr. Takahashi looks pale, but you expect he's seen worse things. He examines the corpse, then says, "I'll perform an autopsy. I guess I'll be missing my party." Of course not. I can do it, Dr. Call says, with the same concern for the feelings of regular mortals that you remember from your apprenticeship. No, Nvidia, they want to see you. They already have my research. I know that you have other things to worry about. He glances at you. So who shot this guy? I'd like to know if I'm next. If this guy was one of yours, Nvidia, and you want me to kill whoever killed him, I'm for hire. I'm just here to drop off a package. Nothing is ever just what it looks like, Celeste, Nvidia says. For example, you are here to drop off a package, and also to avoid being killed by whoever murdered Miguel here. I give you better odds, since you're my child and he was just Leto's errand boy. But not good odds. Oh no. She searches the dead man's pockets until she finds a card for the Viper nightclub with a 4-digit code written on the back. Give me what you brought, she says. You hand her the lock that Prince Leto's flunky gave you in the Viper parking lot. She punches the code on the card into the lock, and it opens, revealing a stack of microfiche, like something out of an old spy movie. Get people you trust to move the body, Nvidia tells Dr. Takahashi. I want a full report by tomorrow night. Celeste, come with me. Everyone in the spill zone knows what we are, she says, pointing to a sign that resembles hands spilling something out of a bowl. She ushers you through another silent sliding door into a stark, minimalist chamber with hexagonal white floor tiles and cool white walls. Artifacts of sorcery are visible behind frosted glass or in clutches atop hard plastic pedestals. You see mummy fragments and incunabula, fragmentary scrolls and broken amulets. There's a diagram of the California Stonehenge they found a few years back. You've heard of that, since kindred say it was some kind of ritual site. The far side of the room contains a Louisa escritoire, a shaker table with a phonograph and an apparatus for reading wax cylinders, and a microfilm reader. The stuff in here is worth a small fortune. Or a large fortune, for someone used to living in her car. Nvidia scans the Latin document Prince Leto prepared for her and tosses it on an end table. Varney, her assistant, places it carefully on a coffee table so her mistress won't lose it. Two studious-looking and handsome young men lounge on the couches nearby, reading books in an obscure dialect of Mongolian. Haustromir stole that text from the Wulong in 984 AD. You're hungry, Celeste, Nvidia says. And I don't like hungry kindred wandering around my domain. Please, enjoy Rene or Sonam. Renee is a doctoral student in robotics, and Sonam is an occultist from London by way of a small village in Bhutan. In a year one will choose one of them. Renee, Sonam, this is Celeste, whose failures I've described to you before. Hi, Celeste, they both say. Until I decide on one, your sire tells you. Renee and Sonam provide what sustenance and diversion they can. 3 more scholars sit around a nearby table, and Vani is there as well, typing something on a laptop. But apparently they're off limits. I've never drunk the blood of a robot maker. Let's try that. An occultist? I wonder how his blood tastes. I try him. I'd prefer preserved blood, if you have it. Not now, thank you. You take your time with Sonam as Nvidia prepares the microfiche. As always, she scrupulously avoids watching anyone else feed, just as she never lets anyone see her feed prepares the microfiche, discreetly looking away as you feed. Did Prince Leto tell you what news I should expect? She says. Because I already know what happened to Jasper Knowles. He was a friend and a colleague, but I had to sever ties with him when I learned he was experimenting on Kindred. We all must draw our line in the sand somewhere. Still, I will miss him. She washes her bloody hands in a sink, then carefully cleans a garnet ring that flashes with thaumaturgic power to your sensitive eyes. You think quickly as your sire twists the knobs of the microfiche reader and starts reading the first page of Prince Leto's document rescinding her authority to operate this facility. You should probably say something to soften the blow. Or should you use this moment of vulnerability to extract more information about the snow room? What is it, Doctor? Renee asks. He and Sonam approach the reader, Sonam leaning on Renee. Vani joins them. A few other scholars wander in, talking quietly among themselves about occult or scientific matters, but they keep a cautious distance from Dr. Cool. I need to take charge and lead her slowly toward the revelation about what's on that microfiche so she doesn't explode into a rage around her blood dolls. Man plus leadership, Leto didn't tell me anything. It shouldn't be that hard to stay cool and lie, and I don't want any of the blowback. Com plus subterfuge, I think it's about your work here. I start asking her questions about her research, hoping my scientific knowledge will get her to reveal something interesting before. You distract her long enough to ask about the snow room, and she says, "How do you know about that?" Vani, make sure Dr. Takahashi hasn't been getting drunk and chatting with the regular scientists again. Yes, Mom, Vani says. After you ask her a few more pointed questions about what you've already overheard, questions that indicate an impressive understanding of medical science, your sire says, "Last year, a witch came to kill me. As you know, Clan Tremere was once House Tremere, a cabal of mortal wizards. Many of those wizards still hate us, and so do their allies, witches, occultists, other mortal riffraff. One of them decided to test my defenses. She belongs to me now, a blood-bound servitor. Her slavish devotion to me has all but destroyed her power, but she and I have been working off and on to transfer her arts into a framework that Clan Tremere can employ. She studies you for a moment. You know, a devoted child might even be permitted to learn more about this subject." Her gaze returns to the microfiche reader. You feel her rage building as she reads, and consider what to say. She's impressed by your scientific acumen. You wonder if you can strike some sort of deal. But just as you start to make a proposal, Renee, who has been reading along over Nvidia's shoulder, touches her arm and says, "It's going to be okay, Nvidia." "Okay? You think this is okay?" She stands up and slaps Renee, knocking the much larger man to the tiled floor. After a moment's thought, you know what you might be able to say before her beast breaks free. It's a long shot, But you can offer your scientific skills as an intermediary. That offer might calm her down. Calm down. Sonam yells. That wasn't what to say. Invidia grabs Sonam's skull. Blood runs from beneath her fingernails. Alchemically transformed, it smokes and fulminates like acid. Sonam can't even scream as the flesh drips off his skull. The other occultists scream in horror and drop their books, running for the exits. But when the corrosive steam rising from Sonam's corpse reaches the ceiling, the facility's fire detectors go off and a massive security door starts to close. A near-splitting alarm goes off. Your sire turns, both hands dripping with corrosive acid that blackens the tiled floor. You're familiar with her rages, but this sorcery is new and terrible. You throw yourself behind a couch as Invidia lashes out with her corrosive blood. The chair next to you dissolves, throwing up spumes of noxious gas. Your beast screams inside your brain, as if it was surrounded by flames. Your iron will allows you to master your fear, but you still don't dare approach her to attack, not with so much unnatural acid dripping from her fingers. How could he? Dr. Call screams, her face scrunched up in fury. I've done everything for him. She turns and a wave of corrosive blood blackens the microfiche reader, filling the room with the stink of burning plastic. Her garnet ring flashes with thaumaturgic power. I hold the door open and order the humans to flee, though it'll give Invidia a chance to strike at me. STR plus leadership, I need to talk her down. I stay calm and polite and ease my sire out of her bestial rage. Com plus persuasion / leadership, I just look for somewhere to stay away from the acid until this passes. Invidia's rages never last long. Wit plus awareness, I enhance my senses and look for a place where I can hide. Auspex, it will take iron resolve and considerable occult skill, but I can counter her acidic vitae with my own magic. Blood sorcery, Res plus academics, I circle her, then dive acrobatically out of the way of the corrosive vitae. I can dodge for longer than she can spit acid. You have better things to do than dissolve in a pool of acid as your sire loses her mind. You look around and identify the best possible place to hide, a long, low table of hard white plastic with a vitrine full of valuable-looking Tremere artifacts. You leap over the table just ahead of a blast of corrosive vitae, then spot the huddled and terrified occultists. Why not? You wave them undercover, too, and they cower beside you as acid vaporized tables, couches, and most of the ceiling ... without ever touching the table you're hiding behind. Finally, all that remains of your sire's rage is a cloud of noxious gas that hovers near the ceiling. Exhausted and horrified, Dr. Call sinks to her knees as you stand up and the surviving occultists remain where they are. Was I always like this, Celeste? Vani and the occultists are plastered against the far wall, unwilling to approach your sire. A moment later the door flies open again, and Giselle, the witch, strides in, long red hair streaming out behind her. She shed her green cardigan, revealing the ritual scars on her wrists. What happened? She says, her eyes narrowing dangerously at you even as she moves protectively toward Invidia. You recognize that desperate eagerness to please and protect. It's true, then, Call his blood-bound a witch. I made a mistake, Giselle, your sire says, her tone bleak. Sonam is dead. She seems to remember your presence. Oh, Celeste, this is Giselle. She came to kill me for stealing her witchcraft, and I bound her. Now she loves me. Funny, isn't it? Don't say it like that, Giselle says, tucking a black lock behind Invidia's ear. I want to be here. I want to learn from you. Of course you do, the Tremere says. Her tone of contempt is more acidic than her fingernails. Clean up this mess, Giselle. I should put in an appearance at the party. Make up some likely story to tell people. I know how you love explaining this sort of thing. So, Vani asks Nvidia a half hour later in her private office, what are we going to do? She's on Cole's desk, sitting on her hands to prevent them from shaking. Return to the party, Yosai says. She strips out of her sooty dress with the brusque efficiency you've seen her use to skin a cadaver, wipes herself down with a sponge, and lets Vani hand her a slip, followed by a red and black kimono. But first, Celeste, I need to deal with you, Yosai says. You will remain at Gear's Energenetics until I have composed a response to Prince Leto. Don't speak. She holds up her hand. The garnet ring flashes dangerously. And don't worry. My response won't be a bomb I ask you to carry back. But I need time to find a way to accommodate Prince Leto's orders. Until then, you stay. Vani, show my child to her room. Your things arrive in your room a few minutes after you do. It's a large, tastefully appointed chamber with silk bed sheets and no windows. Probably the nicest prison you've ever been in. Vani hands you a key card. You're not a prisoner, she says. She bites her lip and studies you, as if you've impressed her, but then she just says, make yourself comfortable, and hurries back down the hall. Vani might prove a valuable ally if you can win her over. It looks like you're going to be here for a few nights while Nvidia crafts a response to Prince Leto that you hope will let them both get what they want. On the first night, you acquire a map of the facility intended for new hires and note interesting areas: incinerator, organic slurry processing chambers 1 to 4, main security, but large sections of the map are blank. You'll have to explore on your own to get a feel for this place. I'm not going to let myself get stuck here. I head to the parking lot and move my truck for a fast getaway. It'll take wits to find a good spot to hide it. Wit plus drive, I rely on my leadership talents, seek out Vani, and try to procure her as a long-term ally. Char plus leadership, me and my crowbar friend are working tonight. It'll take some muscle, but I want to make sure I have plenty of open doors between me and the way out. STR plus clandestine, I need to deal with some of Dr. Cole's occult defenses to make sure I can get out of here. I'm smart enough to figure them out. Blood sorcery, in plus academics, I put my scientific education to good use and try to learn more about the Snow Room and Dr. Cole's cloning work. And plus technology, I talk to the occultists, impressing them with my arcane lore and natural charm to learn what I can. Char plus academics, I canvass the corridors of this place and look for clues. I want to know more about the Snow Room and Dr. Cole's cloning work. Rees plus investigation, I hack into their computer network to learn more about the Snow Room and Dr. Cole's cloning work. And plus technology, first, I enhance my senses to superhuman levels. Auspex. There's plenty of weird tech at Gear's Energenetics, but the computers are simple Linux boxes. The wireless is password protected, so you poke around online until you learn that some of the outside the spill zone researchers are using old chat systems to gossip with their peers in related fields. You download an ERC program and snoop around a few channels, posing as an IT security consultant and answering all their questions correctly. Soon, most of the people in the chat sort of forget you're there. There's a flurry of speculation about Chinese genetic research, artificial meat, and related subjects. Using your knowledge of computer science and how it intersects with KXG's research, you carefully nudge the subject back toward their own black ops. You listen carefully as the KXG folks talk about their daily rounds, including one guy who, you're pretty sure, is describing the outside of the snow room. Then you grab your paper map of the facility and load up a stopwatch program. This one idiot is happily outlining the computers he moves between. You cross off 3 potential locations for the snow room. That leaves only one. It has to be there. You get out of the chat and leave your room. You soon find yourself standing in front of the huge hangar-like door that leads to what can only be the snow room. Now how the hell can you get inside, with 5 clusters of cameras always pointed at the door and armed guards stationed at the intersections? You're forced to retreat as a guard patrol appears, but you're close, you're very close. You head into the spill zone to chat with the scientists who might know more about exactly what Dr. Cool is up to. You can't charm these people, but you might be able to convince them that you know what you're talking about and get them to drop some hints. You quickly impress the medical scientists, technicians, and fringe theorists who make up Dr. Cool's secret research team. Though they're careful not to reveal anything that will get them into trouble, you follow the most senior researchers, including Dr. Takahashi. Your plan, to figure out where the snow room is. Between publicly available maps, your own footwork, and tracking the scientists based on their specialities, you soon find yourself standing in front of the huge hangar-like door that leads to what can only be the snow room. Now how the hell can you get inside, with 5 clusters of cameras always pointed at the door and armed guards stationed at the intersections? You're forced to retreat as a guard patrol appears, but you're close, you're very close. The next night, someone knocks on your door moments after the sun sets. Giselle is standing in the doorway. She looks pale and ragged, and her long green cardigan is dark with blood where it clings to her wrists. She looks like she's been crying. Dr. Cool wants to see you, she says. Clean yourself up. You have 10 minutes. From the tone of her voice, you suspect this might be your final night at Kiowa's Energenetics. You grab everything you have, including your duffel bag, and check your exits in case you have to move fast. You know you've been closely watched for several nights and that the security staff is ready in case you try to make a run for it. The only good news is that Giselle looks terrible. You follow the witch into the spill zone. You're led, not to her office, but deeper into the facility, until you reach the huge steel hangar-like door of the snow room. You permit yourself a self-satisfied smile. Your investigations have already revealed as much as anyone could learn about this place without actually going inside. And now it looks like you're going inside. This is the snow room, Giselle says, her voice tired. She glances at you out of the corner of her eye, but you just shrug as if you have no idea what that is. It's where Dr. Cool and I conduct our research into how to mimic and emulate vampiric flesh. Are you happy with your work, Giselle? It's awful what the blood bond has done to this woman. I keep my mouth shut. I really want to see what my sire has been brewing in here. I scan for exits in case things go bad. I help a great philosopher, Giselle says. I love her. It's like the words are being yanked out of her mouth. The door opens silently despite its size, and a blast of cold air hits you. Cold can't hurt you unless you freeze solid, but you're still close enough to life that you find the sensation viscerally unpleasant. Giselle, her normally haughty demeanor gone, shrinks away from the cold air. When the door closes again, she's on the other side of it. Not sure exactly where to go, you pass through a cold room full of brushed steel tanks attached to thick tubes, electrical cables, and laptops propped open on folding metal desks. The next room resembles a meat locker, except the carcasses hung from iron chains aren't cows or pigs, and neat grids delineate the walls and floor. You use what you already know about the snow room to help you memorize everything you see. Everything you remember here is worth more than gold to Julian. Dr. Cool is waiting toward the back of the next chamber. She's wearing a plain black lab coat with KXG on the lapel. Here, the grid-like order of the rooms breaks down, replaced by mounds of dirty brown snow that slowly merge with the icy walls. Overhead, fans drive sub-zero air down onto the snow. "Good evening, Celeste," your sire says. "I've thought long and hard about Prince Leto's message, and I think I have a solution. I want you to destroy me. I don't actually like riddles, you know. So you can be, what, reborn? Now I'm a little curious. Dark resurrections are cool. Before an elder destroys you for violating some tradition or another? Stupid traditions. HMM. Maybe I can drink her blood and consume her soul. I'm interested." Nothing so melodramatic. This is politics, not metaphysics. Cool picks her way over the dirty snow. After a moment she reaches elbow deep into it and hauls out a naked woman, who stares at you blankly. With her face slack instead of animated, you barely recognize Nvidia Cool. The real Cool gets the ... corpse clone question ... into a lab coat. The clone's feet are black with blood and decorated with Giselle's runes. No wonder the witch could barely stand. When the Camarilla banned most forms of electronic communication, the real Dr. Cool says, Clan Tremere thought it could just build an occult network. But that was hacked, too. That's how Giselle found me. She and I are good friends now, of course, but it was clear to me that Hamato she invented centuries ago was as vulnerable as any other old and unsecured communication protocol. My original plan was to use my clones as couriers, both in the normal fashion and by encoding them with information that could be read through genome analysis. But they never quite worked, and, well, it seems Prince Leto disagrees with my work here anyway. She takes a moment to master her rage. Then she goes on. "You're familiar with the Second Inquisition, Celeste? Organized hunters. They show up when we act like monsters. Yes. They showed up when the Camarilla thought it could keep us safe and failed once again. I've been dodging their government agents. Might as well share what information I can. We're all in this together. I've heard the name. I want to stay silent before my sire entangles me in some plot that can get me destroyed." Have you tangled with the 111th? The OW? What about the FBI branch, the Special Affairs Division? She listens. Interesting. They're all deadly. But not all hunters are like that. Some are dangerous buffoons who are in over their heads. A group like that attacked me the last time I left my facility. I killed most of them, but a few got away, and they're still looking for me. I'd like to give myself to them. She gestures to her clone. Once everyone thinks I've been destroyed, I'll have time to transfer my research elsewhere, away from Leto. We're self-funding now. I don't need him. You glance around at the room. It's just you, Dr. Cool, the half-buried clones, and a few technicians up on the balcony around you. Icy pipes run out of a massive tank on the far wall, an elaborate coolant system surrounded by warning signs. Huge chains dangle from the ceiling, their purpose unclear. The doors nearby are locked. Your sire watches you impassively. This might sound mercenary, but what's in it for me? Who are these vampire hunters? I'm impressed by the audacity of Nvidia's plan, but I need more details. This sounds like a good way to get torn apart by Molotov cocktails and shotgun fire. I'm not going to get myself destroyed for my sire. You really think you can trick Leto this way? I fear Dr. Cole is underestimating the prince. Five victims of anarch violence who have managed to destroy a few thin bloods and ghouls, Dr. Cole explains, and who think they know enough to hunt real vampires. They're dangerous chiefly because they're unpredictable and ignorant, but a skilled courier should be able to elude them. You sit back and consider your options. Your sire is probably right that the vampire hunters aren't that dangerous unless you make a mistake. Your biggest concern is the Prince of Tucson. You've tried to uphold the traditions and principles of the Camarilla, and Prince Leto has trusted you with these courier jobs so far. It would be a shame to turn that ambiguous relationship into a hostile one. And Leto is no fool, he'll learn the truth eventually. On the other hand, eventually is not the same as now. Right now you're in the heart of your sire's territory, and you know she will not take refusal well. And just so we're clear, I'm not asking you to work for free. I can pay, obviously. Will $5,000 be sufficient? And I can teach sorcery and far-seeing, mastery of beasts and men. I think that's how Jasper used to phrase it. A bit dramatic, but true. Common disciplines available from Nvidia call animalism, auspex, blood sorcery, dominate. Then she holds up her ring. Or there's this. We stole it back together, but I've unlocked the secrets of how it holds vitae, and begun to forge an even greater version. So this could be yours. If you help. I might be willing to help you, if you're willing to teach me again. Are you? I'm interested in helping you. Would you be willing to help a friend of mine? Julian Sim could use a scholar of your talents. I'm willing to help you, but can I really use your ring? It's that simple, a cash payment in exchange for helping you fake your destruction? You know the Camarilla won't let me help you. I've picked my side. I don't work for you. Not anymore. I rise and dare her to stop me,